All right, thanks guys for coming. This is a fun announcement that Freddie Mac just recently announced, stating that as of September 1st, there is new income guidelines for accessory dwelling units. So we are going to kind of quickly go over the overview on what that might look like and how this could benefit your clients, or if you potentially have a listing, you know, whether or not, you can advertise that it would qualify for something like this. So I am going to turn the time over to Vanessa and Mike Daniel for the remaining time of the class. Thanks again for coming.
Hey guys, how's your morning going? Everyone amazing? Yeah, we're about to learn about some cool stuff. So we in the lending world have all been super excited since about May when we heard this was going to be a thing, because they're finally reacting to what's happening with housing, right? That there's just people are being priced out and they can't afford things. So this program, the more we learn about it, we're realizing it's not going to be the saving grace that we kind of hoped it was, but it will help a lot of buyers get into a home that might be a little bit bigger, a little bit nicer, right? That they wouldn't originally have qualified for. Also, I mean, it's always nice to have somebody else kind of footing the bill for where you live, because even if the income doesn't pan out the way we kind of thought it might, it's definitely going to help their pocketbook in the end, right? So we're going to talk just a little bit about the announcement, what the property qualifications look like, what the loan qualifications look like, and then some more requirements. Then we'll just have a Q&A at the end. Super quick. We're not going to keep you here for too long. We just want to give you the basis information. In all honesty, we're learning right along with you here. We don't have all of the answers yet, but if there's something you ask that we don't know, we're going to find out for you. So that's our goal today, is to find out what it is that you guys don't know about it or want to know about it. But as of September 1st, Freddie Mac, so conventional only, right, is now allowing accessory dwelling unit income to be counted to help a borrower qualify for income. That didn't used to be a thing. You could rent your mother-in-law out. That was great. They didn't care if you did that, if it was a conventional loan, but they wouldn't allow that income to help you purchase the house. So we're loving that they're doing this. There's a lot of renovations happening in homes right now where people are, we've got multi-generational living together, and or they're trying to figure out a way to make their house payment work with the way that prices are going up. So this is super cool. On the next slide, it's going to talk a little bit about what's eligible, and it's for purchases and no cash out refinances only. Okay, so if somebody is looking to buy, obviously that's good. If they need to refinance their house for whatever reason, a divorce, and they need to pay out equity, that type of stuff, then we can use this for a no cash out. Well, I guess that wouldn't work. So it's just no cash out refinances for whatever reason they would need to do that for. Let's move on to the next slide. So some of the guidelines, and this is where there's been a lot of confusion, and we're finally starting to get some clarity on it, is what an ADU is according to Freddie Mac. So they're saying it's a 1, 2, or 3 unit property that has an accessory dwelling unit, which an addition living area that has a kitchen, a bathroom, and a separate entrance. So it won't work if you've got the mother-in-law that comes up the stairs and through the house, and they have to go through the house to get to the unit, right? You've got to have that exterior door, which we know a builder who's been doing a ton of those because people knew this was coming, right? So now they can sell the house and use this as a benefit. And then it needs to be an independent primary dwelling unit, just meaning that it's completely blocked off. So for instance, I went and looked at a house this weekend, and it would have been perfect for a mother-in-law, but the stairway going downstairs, you could put a door, but it was a big vaulted ceiling. So there's like no way to truly block that off into a mother-in-law, even though it's great space downstairs. So it needs to be completely separate. The living area needs to be subordinate. So meaning living area downstairs needs to be less than the upstairs. So you can't live in the basement and rent out the top and use that as the income. Okay. And then it needs to contribute less to the value of the property than the primary dwelling unit. contribute list. I don't know if I fully understand what that means. Sam, do you want to chime in? Am I just,
Yeah, so like if you were to come and appraise the house, potentially the main living space is going to be more than the apartment, or I guess the
oh,
ADU.
okay.
The
I
better,
was reading that really weird. Sorry, guys.
yeah, and the cost contributed is not as much. So if that makes sense. So, and we'll get into like how we work the numbers, but basically there's only a certain amount that the rents can contribute towards. It's not a dollar for dollar exchange is how we can count the income, if that makes sense. So we'll get a little bit more into the income guidelines here in just a minute.
Okay, that makes sense. The cool thing about this is, I think some of the confusion at the beginning is we thought that it had to have an entrance from the house to the mother-in-law situation, and it sounds like they're allowing like stuff that's above a garage or a completely detached ADU that's on the property. So that's really cool. I don't know how like tiny homes would work with this, so we'll probably have to learn more about that, but either way, there's just some really good opportunities here to help a person. And you might be wondering like how that'll help. And I think when we get into the financing, it'll make sense how that can help. If you have a listing that could qualify for this, or if you have a buyer that maybe is qualifying for 400, but they love this $450,000 house that could possibly have an ADU in it, right? So let's move into the next slide. So property qualifications. This is where it's going to start getting a little bit tricky because the appraiser has to be on board with this, right? They have to identify and report on the appraisal, the appropriate form that says this is an ADU. Also, zoning and land use requirements might be considered by the appraiser for this identification. So if you have a listing and you're thinking about promoting it this way, I would probably check into zoning and make sure that this is something that can be a legal ADU, right? I think most places at this point are supporting ADUs because of our housing crisis, but it's something you want to definitely check into. If the appraiser determines the subject property has an ADU, the appraisal report must include a description of the ADU. So they need to put on there all the things about it, the general condition, the room count, specifying bedrooms, baths, square footage, and all that stuff. So that this is on the appraiser, but it is something that we all need to be aware of, that this could be a hoop we're going to have to jump through when we're going through this, because this is new for appraisers too, right? We can't, I mean, we're all on a learning curve at this point. All right, let's move to the next slide. All right, so how income is calculated. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Where we originally, is this where Mike's taken over, or am I doing this one?
Yeah, I can take this one.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, so a lot of words on here. Basically what this is saying is there's going to be an appraisal analysis done. And then if there's also a lease agreement in place, or that one is put in place, we're going to look at the lesser of the two, and we're going to use 75% of whatever that number is. So say the appraisal analysis says that that place we're in out for $1,000. 75% of that would be $750, and that's what we're going to use when we make that adjustment on the calculation for the income. Yeah, we can go on to the next one. Just know whatever it says, 75% of that is what we're going to be using.
Hey guys, I have a quick question if I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so how new does the separation have to be? So you mentioned that there has to be a wall that separates the two units. What if you were listing a property and you gave your seller that idea, knowing that it meets all the other guidelines? Or if you were looking at a house and you wanted the seller to do that, knowing that it meets all the guidelines? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think there's a time on it. I think that could be done prior to the appraisal and you'd be fine, but it needs to be done before the appraisal happens.
Yeah, okay.
All
Just
of
wanted
the
to clarify that. Thank you.
requirements. Yeah,
Yeah.
just make sure it meets all the requirements. It's not a situation where, like Vanessa mentioned, there's an open stairwell and you're giving people the idea that they could close this off and add a door. It has to have already been done at time of appraisal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
And then, so for the purchase, at least one of the borrowers is required to participate in the landlord education program. Yeah, we can go on to the next one. Now, this is where we're going to show you how it's going to help, where we're going to take that income. So we have somebody that has $5,500 of income. They're going to qualify for about a $2,500 mortgage. At a 6.25% rate with 5% down, they're gonna get about a $360,000 purchase price. That's gonna get them about $2,500 in the total payment. Now, if they find a property that has an ADU that can rent for $1,000 a month, we're gonna take 75% of that, which is $750, and add that to their income, taking it to $6,250, which now qualifies them for about a $2,800 mortgage. That's going to bump up their purchase price to $410,000. So it's about a $50,000 bump up in that purchase price. Any questions here?
To everyone. I think this is where like the dollar for dollar, right? It's not necessarily like, oh, they originally qualified for 2,500. Why aren't they qualifying for 2,500 plus 750? That's not how it works, because we use the income to offset. And so anyways, it's not a dollar for dollar. So keep that in mind. Dawn, did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to unmute myself when it does happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
And
problem.
the cool thing about this is I think most places can get more than $1,000 in rent for an ADU, right? So
Yes.
we're being very conservative with our numbers here, because we don't want to oversell this, but it's a really cool opportunity.
Mhm.
I did that same thing in my last home. My original home in South Jordan, I had a walkout basement, and it was finished for the most part. We took out an office and put in a kitchen, and it was already, we already planned to rent it. We weren't going to do a new loan on it. So we didn't have to have it done before the appraisal. But we're renting it out for $1,500, renting the top floor out for $2,500.
That's awesome.
Is
Yeah.
paying for my new house and the other house.
That's how you get rich right there. You keep doing that, right?
Right.
Which I want to mention too. So when we look at these figures, this is a good selling point for agents when you have people that are really worried about price, really worried about what their monthly equates to. When you look at, okay, their income is $5,500, so they qualify for a $2,500 mortgage. The cool part about this is, yes, they now qualify for a purchase price of $410,000, which is a $2,700 monthly payment, right here at the bottom. But the cool part is their income is still $5,500. The cool part is they have $1,000 from renters that are going towards this, where their payment only went up $300, $350. So when you look at that, you're like, they're helping you much more than it does look like on paper, or that it's actually helping with that total monthly payment, rather than it's just jumping their total monthly payment $750. But it is more money in their pocket because they're getting $1,000 from rent. And so it really does help them go, okay, you know what? At that point, I'm only paying, they're getting $1,000, they're paying $1,791. If they look at it that way, for a $410,000 home. And so as agents, you guys can use that as a selling tool if people are kind of worried about rates and they're worried about, house prices going up. I think that this is a really good selling point.
Yeah, especially for like Sam and I have a borrower who they could qualify for way more than they're comfortable their payment being, right? So they're looking in the $350 range because that's the payment they're comfortable with. But really, they could qualify for $450,000 using this new program, and then they're still going to be under the price that they're comfortable with because of the rent. So it's good for people who maybe can't even qualify, but it's just an idea to bring to them. Like, look what we can do now.
Part of the problem is that there's not going to be that many available accessory units in that price range?
When I looked online on the MLS the other day, there were hundreds listed as mother-in-laws. Now, did I actually go through and make sure that they would qualify?
No,
I
no.
didn't have the time to do that, but there were, I think when I searched the keywords mother-in-law in the MLS, there were over 300 that popped up.
Awesome.
So
So it could be, right? It could be a good point of contact for you guys to market right now, especially if you have somebody that got priced out over the last 4 to 6 months. And if you need us to run the numbers for them, like kind of hypothetically wondering, okay, what will this do? What will it bring my budget down to? Because when they look at, oh, 2,500 feels high, plus I can't find anything I love in the 360 range. Okay, do you like something in the 410 range? Get $1,000 in income from the ADU. You're then paying $1,791.56 because they're paying $1,000, right? So that's how it looks to a borrower. The tricky part is, like Vanessa said and Mike said, it looks a little bit different for us as far as like how we can use that ADU to help them qualify for more. Let's pause there and see if we have any questions.
well, thanks for coming, guys. It's been fun. And if you do come across questions, please feel free to reach out to whoever invited you to this, because we know there's going to be questions, and the sooner that we can get the questions and get the answers, the more knowledgeable we'll look for you guys and the more knowledgeable you'll look to your clients. So if you come across questions, please don't hesitate to send an email or text or give us a call.
I actually have one, please.
Okay.
Yeah, so what qualifications does the renter need? Obviously, we want to screen them and make sure that they're going to pay their monthly payment, but do you guys look at like they had a job for the last 2 years, or what exactly do you look for to make sure that the renter is a qualified renter, or is that a part of the buyer's due diligence?
That's the buyer's due diligence. That's not, the lender's not going to look at the renter.
Oh, good. Okay.
That's why they're
Thank you.
looking at, that's why they're wanting, Freddie Mac has put that guideline in there, wanting everyone that's wanting an ADU income type situation to be included in that landlord education program to
Oh,
make sure
good.
that they understand how to vet their renters and things like that. But you're going to find some properties that they want to sell the house, but the renters want to stay in the house. And that's where we're going to have the lease agreement, right? Already
Oh,
in
nice.
hand.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah, there's different types of scenarios. And like Vanessa said, this is, I mean, this has been going on now for eligible for 22 days. So I would anticipate Fannie Mae might jump on board with this as well. I haven't heard anything on that, but it's now just Freddie Mac. But I would imagine we're going to see some tweaks, you know, as you guys know, when new guidelines come out. So yeah, if questions come up, just shoot them our way and we'll get them answered for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mike, did you want to add anything more?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Thanks, everyone. I'm going
Hey,
to
thank
stop
you.
the share, stop
Thank
the
you.
recording, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
So-
Bye.